Any list of things invented or discovered by Germans is long and impressive. X-rays, the car, television, the theory of relativity, the birth control pill, the list goes on and on. Unfortunately, one period of German history saw the nation talents devoted to building weapons. Here is our list of secret Nazi weapons. 1. The America Bomber. Hitler had one goal that he wanted to accomplish: to see the United States go up in flames. Therefore, Project America Bomber was initiated. It was German Air Force Chief Hermann Göring who sketched out the requirement for the America Bomber in 1942. A strategic bomber capable of making the 7,200 miles round trip across the Atlantic with nuclear weapons on board to attack the United States. But it never came this far. The first prototype was the Messerschmitt Me-264, and it was a good solid choice, but eventually it was abandoned to allow Messerschmitt to concentrate on their fighter production during World War II. Although there were also plans for the Focke-Wulf TA-400 and the Heinkel HE-277. Eventually, the Junkers Ju-390 was selected instead of the Messerschmitt Me-264. There were two prototypes built, one of which never flew. The other showed initially a lot of promise, so the Germans gave the order to build a number of aircrafts. What precisely occurred after this event is still not certain. It was reported to be seen in Prague carrying out test flights, and there were also rumors that the aircraft indeed undertook a flight to within 12 miles of the American coast, just north of New York City. But there is no evidence of this flight, and how the Ju-390s were really used has never been found out. Both aircraft, though, were long gone by the end of the war. 2. The Vampire. Unlike the American bomber that never saw the light of day, the ZG-1229, also known as the Vampire, actually saw service during World War II. The Vampire was first night vision device designed for personal weapons, which was developed in 1944, but was not used until 1945. It was designed to be mounted on the world's first assault rifle, the STG-44, and saw action on the Eastern Front. The scope looked like a badly made flashlight on a rifle. The scope was heavy, 5 pounds. The device was designed so you could aim the main gun using the infrared sight by a complicated system of range estimating bars that went up and down with the gun and searchlight, so the commander could see the range by aiming the searchlight. 300 were put into the field. However, considering its weight and short battery life, it did not impact the battlefield very much. 3. The Krumlauf. Imagine creating a kill shot to your enemy from behind a corner without showing yourself. How much of an advantage would it give you during the war? That was the idea for the Krumlauf. It was fitted to the weapons so that German soldiers could fire their weapon around corners without exposing themselves to enemy fire. It was a great idea. It was evident by the end of the war that most of the fighting to come would take place in an urban environment rather than exposing oneself to get well-aimed shot or blindly firing around a corner hoping that you hit something. What if you could fire around them without showing yourself? However, even the Krumlauf or crooked gun with the slightest curve cost bullets to hammer the inside. This meant the barrel would soon give out. Even with a new barrel, the bullet itself would break apart. Only a few hundred of the barrels were produced. A Krumlauf with a 90-degree bend was being worked on as a standoff weapon for tank, but it never made it off the drawing board. Number 4. The Goliath. A war without a drone or another small device is something that is unthinkable in this time. But did you know that it was invented by the Germans during the Second World War? The Germans deployed several remote control vehicles during the war, the most famous of which was the Goliath. The Goliath was a World War I tank filled with explosives that were sent towards enemy emplacement or vehicles. Many Goliaths were used against American troops in Italy in spring in 1944 and against Polish in Warsaw later the summer. They carried a single 13-pound charge. Nearly 8,000 gallets were made, and they could and did serious damage. However, most did not. They had terrible ground clearance, were a slow-moving target, had thin armor, and were expensive to make. Number 5. Kugelpanzer, the ball tank. Maybe the most strange and weirdest vehicle being built was the Kugelpanzer, the ball tank. Even today, nobody really knows exactly what it was intended to do. The Kugelpanzer was 5 feet tall and about 2.5 feet wide with armor. The vehicle could be controlled by a single man on the side, sitting on a motorcycle saddle. This driver could see the battlefield through a very small window, and if necessary, fire a single machine gun through a split underneath the viewport. Only one of these Kugelpanzers was ever found. It was found by the Soviets. It had been sent to the Japanese, but nobody knows why. The best guesses as to its purpose is that it was a primitive remote-controlled exploration vehicle, but there are also rumors that it was a suicide vehicle or a vehicle used as infantry support weapon which was able to travel places where no man has ever been. What the nature of this vehicle was, we will never know because the documents are locked away somewhere in Moscow military archives. The only Kugelpanzer in existence is in a Russian museum, and no one sure if it is original or not. Number 6. The sun gun. Yes, you heard that correctly. The Nazis planned to turn the sun into a focused weapon. It was not a very realistic plan, but it was a plan and took up time and manpower, at least at the drawing board level. However, being Nazis, German scientists came up with the idea that if they could build a big enough mirror and deploy it in space, they could focus the sun heat on a target, say New York, and kill everyone in it. However, since the Nazis' most famous superweapon, the V-2 ballistic missile, could not break through the atmosphere, could not be counted onto its target, and carried nothing but a warhead,